All right, guys, it's Crusty Old Crow back again with the tactical perspective on the G.I. Joe 6-inch classified line by Hasbro. These are the more grown-up budget recollection of the figures we grew up with in the 80s and into the 90s. Those of us who are between our 40s and 50s now, we're getting these for Christmas and our birthdays as kids. And we probably, everyone watching this video probably at some point fell in love with these figures for some reason or another, either between the toys or the co-marketed cartoon and comic books. Either way, we fell right into the trap, as it were. We were the audience they wanted, and they got us on the hook, line, and sinker. Thus, we, as adults, are buying $35 to $100 and some odd dollar sets for the things we collected as children. Anyways, as I said, I'm Crusty Old Crow. This is the tactical perspective, and what I do is I take my military experience and I apply them to review these toys. As I am retired and have very little else to do with my time, quite honestly. Anyways, what I do is I just go from head to toe. I run an inspection on the figurine itself. I talk about any tactical details that have been included that people might not necessarily have picked up on or know the justification of. I talk about the aesthetics of it or the creative, let's say, liberties they have taken with it. I will talk things like G.I. Joe privilege and Cobra privilege and other things like that, just to point out the things about the figures that I like and I dislike, and, you know, to exchange opinions with you guys on what you think of these figures as you collect them over time as well. Today, we are going to cover perhaps the most vital and quite honestly, essential asset the Joes have going for them. This person is critical to operations and perhaps is the most lethal of all and capable of bringing down the destruction required to take out Cobra Island bit by bit. And it's not this guy. Sorry, Snake Eyes, you gotta go. You'll have your time. God, everything's always a bit Snake Eyes. You notice that? Everybody's always a bit Snake Eyes. No, guys, the most dangerous Joe I think they've released so far, in my opinion, is this one. CoverGirl. Absolutely, perhaps the biggest powerhouse in the collection to date, as far as the classified figures and the Joes and what they bring to the table, especially if you just think it through a little tactically and understand what she can actually bring to the table. She is brutally important. Anyway, so this is CoverGirl. She is number 59 in the line. There's her box, the controversial box that a lot of people have a lot of opinions on. In one video, I did talk about what I think they're doing with the box marketing, and I do agree with it, letting a variety of different artists reflect certain characters, and I do believe that this is just one of many different ways to interpret a character like Courtney CoverGirl Krieger. Courtney Krieger, you know, she's one I did remember a bit of her backstory as a kid. I did recall having her at a short period of time. I think eventually I traded her and the Wolverine out with a buddy for something else, but she was the Joe that was the fashion model that got tired of not being taken seriously, and turned out she was a brilliant maintainer. And she fought the Wolverine, I believe it was, for the Joes, this missile launching system on tracks. And she, her character was very plain Jane. She reminded me, if anybody out there is old enough to remember the show Cheers, she reminded me of a Diane Chambers, or even maybe a bit of a Suzanne Somers, Three's Company kind of character, to date myself really bad there, guys. But for those of you who don't know who they are, look it up. My point being is she had that 80s bowl cut haircut. She was not standing out. But did she ever match the CoverGirl image of, you know, the CoverGirl at the time with the hair and the makeup features? And so when they released this figure, they tried to pay a little bit of tribute to this, and I think they overdid it a bit. But here you have CoverGirl which they've interpreted as this is to make her look like, I think, more of the fashion model in her past, the beauty that she has to deal with and contend with every day, kind of attempt at a sculpt. Whether you find it works or doesn't, that's a matter of opinion and personal taste, I guess. For me, it's fine. I don't really have a problem. It kind of reminds me a little bit of an Angelina Jolie kind of face. Maybe she should be adopting children. Maybe she should have a celebrity husband. But in the Joe world, I think she lends to a very interesting discussion. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the military part of her character that I'm talking about there afterwards. So when I run these guys, I go from head to toe. I do like a military style inspection. I run the character head to toe, pointing out the detail or perhaps if they have them flaws. I don't go much into the articulation because other reviewers will tell you it's a repetitive fact. You can talk every day about the articulation and not much will change. I will tell you when certain articulation points do change, but this one has the standard multi-point articulation that gives it such a great posability. As mentioned in other videos, these things don't come with their own stands. You have to provide your own stands, but you can get these at a variety of your local game stores and places that carry these figurines. This is just one of many brands I've seen that I've been able to get pretty cheap. Usually $1 to $3 a stand is a reasonable cost I've been finding. So as I said, I go head to toe. And then at the end of things, guys, I talk about the strengths and the weaknesses, points to improve, points to sustain. I think that Hasbro did really well or could do better or just differently, or even just conversion thoughts for those of us out there that do like to dabble with doing a little bit of touch-up conversions on these things, or a lot if you're that guy. I'll also talk about her accessories, and her accessories are the one that I really want to focus on a little bit today. So that's how we run this. And then, guys, I give it two types of grades. I give it a playability grade and I give it a tactical grade, right? Just for, S's and giggles, part of my sharing my 2 cents in my opinion, because I do these videos in one take and I do them for myself. Maybe one day I'll learn to edit, but until then, really, I'm just doing what I want. And I hope you guys that are watching enjoy the ride. Enjoy some of the discussion points that I talk about. And that's about all we're looking for here, okay? Quick shout out to a few other toy reviewers because I think this is going to be a shorter video. So some of the ones that I'm really enjoying these days, Analog Toys. That's another military veteran like myself from I believe the Australian military. I really love him talking about his Valor Force and his Joes and his opinions. I find we are a couple of like-minded guys with a lot of our preferences. And so I definitely can't say enough about Analog Toys. Kyle Peterson is another reviewer. He does a lot of toy reviews, definitely into the wrestling, well, far more than I am. But he does love his Joe collection, and he loves his Flint. And I really enjoy watching Kyle talk about the characters and what he likes about these things. Sometimes we don't always have the same point of view on things, but that's what I love about this, watching the YouTube videos of other guys. You just kind of, it's an idea exchange, and I like that. Saturday Morning Toy Collector, there's another one who I find I really value what he brings to the table with his videos, and he'll give you a history. All these guys will share a bit about what they know about the market, and I find the market very interesting. I don't have much to talk about it with it until about today. I'm going to start mentioning some things that we've seen coming out of Hasbro as far as rumors and HasLab and what isn't HasLab. But that's how we run it. So guys, I'm going to quickly go into CoverGirl now from head to toe. And I'm going to talk about why I think she is the powerhouse of the Joes. More so than Lady J. More so than Snake Eyes. So the head sculpt, I talked about that at the opening. Not much to say beyond that. No, you can't put a helmet on it, but maybe you could fit some goggles around her neck and that would look all right. If you wanted to, say, borrow a pair from Dusty, or if you had one of the Cobra Vipers laying around, you could do that. She's got that fur-lined leather jacket collar. This is definitely like a World War II bomber style jacket, and I think it really works for it, but it's got that lumbar padding on it. She is a driver, and having that lumbar padding denotes that. She's got the really cool, I think that looks like a Wolverine on, it would make sense if it's a Wolverine icon on there, which disappears nicely into that leather. Conversion wise, I'm thinking about putting a patina on this, make it a little bit more tonal, maybe 2 to 3 different types of tones of browns to make the leather kind of, the old leather pop on that. But you know, you guys, conversion wise, there's lots you can do there to make it pop. But Hasbro did a great sculpt with that jacket. I love seeing it. Her utility belt, great, no issues there. She's got some pouches. She's got those preferred metal buckles, you know, on there. Breaks up the color a little bit, lends a little, you know, eye-catching detail, draws your eye inward, you know. She does have that wrench on her belt, you know, adjustable wrench. I did do a little highlight using a pardon me, a highlighting pencil, like a gunmetal one, just to bring the screws out a little bit. I agree with a black wrench. I agree with blackened anything if somebody is a field soldier on operations, and if there's any level of covertness going on, black is your friend, you know. Shiny metal, not so much. But anyways, so the pouches are great. And then she's got her little, it's a mag light. I'm going to have to accent that, but that would be a mag light, like her little handheld flashlight, I believe, that we, you know, again, could make that pop out. I'm probably going to do a paint on that. She's got that nice leather stitched holster on the side, and then that Western pistol. It is a silver and black job they did on that. I, again, just kind of decided I wanted a little bit more on the grip, so I highlighted the grip details a little bit because I thought that looked a little nicer in that holster at the time. Agree, disagree, that's fine. Let me know. But there you go, so you can see that. But what I really fell in love with this, besides this great little pump shotgun that she's got, you know, and yeah, I accented the ejector, the casing ejector area, like, sorry, not the ejector, the loading area, casing loading area for the shotgun. I highlighted that and the ejection port, just because the black's great, but there are some areas that, you know, you get rubbed steel, no matter what. And I thought that was a better detailing to that. But this data pad really killed it for me. And this is, to me, what makes her the most dangerous Joe in the collection, guys. Because if we just pull that out of her hands right now, one, her posability really lets her hold that in a variety of ways. Yeah, every now and then you'll get a balancing issue, but I love that both hands can hold it, and the fingers are kind of posed to, if you look at her fingers, they're definitely posed for using like a phone or data device, so it's awesome like that. But this thing practically glows on its own, and it is the Wolverine in almost like a connecting schematical digital way, right? So, and you can see this is a tablet. It's not a phone, it's a tablet device, right? And on the back, you know, it's very flat, and it just goes into her leg rig right here, which I'll pan out and show you, sorry. There we go. So it just sits beautifully in her little leg rig, and it, like I said, it glows on its own. It pops out. It's very eye-catching. So that is her connection to her vehicle. So talking about what's going on with the vehicles right now, I'll get to that. I'm just going to finish up with the rest of the legs and let you guys know that the brown pants and the brown boots and the lace protectors, all perfectly tactical, good choices. I found this whole brown theme with the character really worked for it. And then you remember she was a driver, and you almost feel robbed that she didn't come with a Wolverine, right? And now that we have the rumors out, well, confirmed with SDCC that Hasbro's now going to come out with the Vamp and Clutch set, and that's not going to be a HasLab thing. That's going to be an actual classified series release. People have been projecting the price points, high 2 figures, low 3 figures. So you're talking like what, between 80 to 120 probably. Looking at on what I've heard people speculate, right? But the reason they were able to do this is because if you look at the Vamp, it is a smaller vehicle and it doesn't require as much plastics as, say, doing a HISS tank or a Dragonfly helicopter. And you know, it's comparable to the pods that they just did for Cobra, the Terrapod there with the driver and his options. So doing the clutch and the Vamp makes sense. The Wolverine is bigger than the Vamp in that it is a tracked vehicle. So you have a lot of parts that if you wanted to do them right, you want them moving. So they're separate plastic pieces. It's not 4 wheels. It's a series of road wheels, drive gears, all that other stuff, return rollers, and then track links all intersecting. So you'd want them movable. Otherwise, you're with what you had originally in the 80s, which was a track that didn't move and then a couple of plastic roller wheels hidden away underward on the underside. And at this point, I think neither Hasbro nor the collectors of this series would want that. I think they'd want a good Wolverine, right? So if they were to make it, you'd be looking well over the 120 or whatever they're going to cost for the Vamp. And then you would be looking at maybe a re-release of another CoverGirl figure. And then maybe this figure would lack luster for you, right? And I think that's just not a road they would travel. I don't know. Maybe they would. Maybe HasLab will tackle a Wolverine at some point, or maybe, who knows? Maybe all the conversion guys can just make their own and be happy with it. But as far as tactical sensibility, the Wolverine is here always. It is always available to your Joes in that she connects to it through this data pad. And this in the military is an asset we say call for fire, right? So she does fire missions on targets. So you kind of almost want her coming along as a forward observer for your Joe patrol when they're discreetly or covertly approaching a Cobra target that they plan on eliminating, because she logs into her data pad, wakes her vehicle up if it's tucked away in a small little vehicle hide somewhere with cam, and and gets those missiles to automatically bear onto target, and she launches them and calls for fire on the target. Tell me that's not one of the most powerful Joes in the classified line currently as far as the figure releases, and I'll debate it with you, but that's really what she brings to the table, guys, is she brings call for fire down, which is awesome. So definitely a very, very powerful character. As well, we talk about her maintenance experience, okay? So your RAM breaks down, guess who's working on it? When your Vamp breaks down, guess who's helping Clutch work on it, right? It's going to be characters like this. And any military person will tell you, keeping a vehicle functioning and moving, that makes the game a lot easier sometimes than walking to your objective or trying to fight without the additional heavy fire support of a vehicle. Okay, so CoverGirl overall, one of the more powerhouse Joes in the collection. To talk about one of her issues is she reminds me of a couple of people I have worked with in my career. Being a maintainer and being a maintainer with, shall we say, blessed outward appearance, fortunate looking. She reminds me of a maintainer I went to Afghanistan with on one of my rotos, who I worked with very closely for 6 months and shared our quarters with. I'm not going to say her name here, but I wanted to just talk about her a little bit because she was not, what's the word here? She was not an issue. Her physical appearance being beneficial to her did not create a professional problem for any of us working with her, because to the core, she was one of the best maintainers in the trade. Hands down, she was the most switched on maintainer you could find. And she had nothing but a great career ahead of her. And thankfully, she rose through the ranks for her trade because she was one of the hardest working. And if anybody was going to suffer to get the job done, it was going to be her, right? And she made no qualms about it, and she didn't use it to elevate herself. She never lost her professionalism and her dedications to her team and the people around her, and to keep the vehicle fleet going in Afghanistan. Just a solid soldier and maintainer. Where her looks did come in was how other nationalities dealt with her, especially the local Afghan nationals that we were working with, really put them at odds. And it was, it is an issue. And it is an issue for a lot of women that serve, that sometimes their appearance does get in their way in their professional careers, right? So, I'm a guy with 25 years in, and I've worked with a lot of women, and my wife is a military member as well with the equal amount of time in and also retiring. We've seen it, guys. We know about it, but the professionals are the ones that don't let it get in the way and the ones that stand out. And I think CoverGirl as a figure is a fine example of that topic, just having been reflected in these Joes and how she's reflected with the Joes kind of deal. But I think it's important that when we see a character whose name is CoverGirl, who's supposed to have a degree of for lack of a better word, superficiality about them, I think it's important that you understand that that's not how we actually address women in the military. For the most part, you're always going to hear the bad stories of the guys that made it hard for the women, or the odd woman that made it hard for the other women. But the truth of the matter is we respect everybody that we deal with, and when you're a part of our team, you're a part of the family kind of deal. So I just thought that was a great character to kind of inspire talking about that a little bit. I don't think that's necessarily talked enough when we talk about the military and what the social environment is like there. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say about that topic, and I'm pretty much done giving you the review on the character. Like I said, some wishes I did, some things I do wish it had. I do wish she had a tool bag or a tool satchel with more than just the wrench in it. But, they kept the cost points down. I think a lot of focus went into that data pad and pistol for sure, and the shotgun as well. And I'm happy with what you got at the lowest price point, Joe. You got a really solid character. I have no issues with the posability, and the design was good. Whether or not you like the face, that's up to you. But I had no issues with it at all. Playability grade that I gave this one, I would say is I would give it a B, just because I think it's lacking some explanation features that differentiate her more as a prepared maintainer by lacking more tools. But no, I'd say B plus. Yeah, otherwise good. But tactically, I'm going to give her an A plus. I think the bomber jacket and the tans, she's a back in the shop kind of worker, so she doesn't necessarily need to be wearing CAD-PAT, and she's rolling in her vehicle. Her jacket is a perfect reflection of the vehicle that she comes with, as is that amazing glowing data pad. Breaks down the Wolverine beautifully. And like I said, when the logic gets applied of what this kind of tech brings to the table for your character, it explains how she can actually be a forward observer call for fire asset for the Joes, right? So definitely great tactical on this one. I give this one an A plus. You can't go wrong with that pump shotgun. Maybe would have liked to have it saw it slung, but okay. I don't mind her carrying it. I'm not mad at that at all. Yeah, overall, despite my want to do a little bit of conversion work with the pistol and highlighting a few things, there was nothing required. So overall, solid character, guys. Sorry if I went on a little bit about the comparison to women in the military and how people look at that, but I also meet a lot of people who have the misconception about what soldiers are actually like and who they actually are. And that's it's very damaging to us as a profession, as a trade, the trades within it, and it's damaging to the morale of the forces to hear ourselves talked about like that. So or reflected like that. So I just wanted to do my part and say a little bit on it. Anyways, guys, that's it for this video. If you liked it, please hit like. If you are really liking it, you can hit subscribe. I promise you I'm going to do more. And for those of you who hated it, I am threatening you. I promise you I'm going to do more. Okay? And we'll see you next time, guys. Take care.